Ole Miss will be a problem this year in the SEC, and yes, Trinidad Chambliss should start against LSU. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and we are overreacting to what we just saw, and that is a demolition of the Tulane Green Wave. So let's go.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media and a former Ole Miss staff member. And we are going to overreact to Ole Miss winning an absolute snoozer, if we're being honest, with the Tulane Green Wave and setting up potentially the biggest home game of the year. And yes, Trinidad should start it. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen, and please give us a like, subscribe, and comment on your way out, and check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college and pro, are available. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later in the show for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So I'm pretty impressed about where Ole Miss stands right now. And Trinidad Chambliss just had the fourth highest rated statistical game of an Ole Miss quarterback in history, in case you didn't notice that. Trinidad Chambliss has had almost two Heisman-worthy performances to start his FBS career. And I am a huge Austin Simmons guy. Everybody knows that. I like Austin Simmons, but Trinidad Chambliss, he has done enough in the first two games where he gets a third. Now, there might be a short leash. They might decide to play games with Brian Kelly to make them prepare for both because the offense is going to look different. But at the end of the day, Trinidad has made all of the right decisions. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Arkansas was a putrid defense. I think we all saw that today. An absolutely putrid defense. They lost to Memphis up in the Liberty Bowl. Tulane was better than Arkansas defensively. Trinidad ran for 115 yards and threw for over 300, for 400 and something total yards in his first two starts at Ole Miss. Trinidad Chambliss absolutely deserves another opportunity to go out there in the biggest home game of the year. The game day is going to Happy Valley in Penn State. It should be in Oxford. Game day in Oxford, Ole Miss and LSU, a top 10 matchup. I don't think anybody is prepared for what that can be. Make no mistake, LSU is going to beat Sela tonight. And then they're all going to go up to Oxford, and LSU will be third in the country, and Ole Miss will be 9th or 10th in the country, and it'll be an absolute war. That's what's going to happen now. It will be one of the three best games of the weekend, and it helps that Ole Miss is, coming together at just the right time. They're doing what is necessary to come together. And maybe it was Trinidad coming in. Maybe it's the fact that just the JUCO players and the transfer portal players and all of them are starting to work together and they're becoming a thing, essentially. But Ole Miss going into the LSU game is playing their best football of the season, and that's the best you can ask for. Ole Miss has a bye week after the LSU game, and per my novice view of things, they look pretty dang healthy right now. So that is pretty good for Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin said in the press conference, as he would, that he is not prepared to name a starter for next week, and he won't name a starter for next week at any point until the end of the week. It'll look remarkably like this week for Ole Miss as far as naming a starter, but it should be Trinidad. Trinidad, I hate the word deserves, kind of deserves to run out as the starting quarterback in that game. The offense looks better. The running game looks better. I like the scheme. There was a little bit of Vanderbilt, believe it or not, in Ole Miss's offense today. You saw a speed option. They utilized his legs. Ole Miss had 13 personnel on the field multiple times in the game, and what that means is one running back, three tight ends. You saw Luke Haas, Daquan Wright, and Trace Bruckler on the field at exactly the same time. On the speed option, they matched up Daquan Wright on a cornerback for a block and ran a speed option to where Kejuan Lacey got into the end zone. Ole Miss used 4 tight ends in the first quarter of the game. Exotic personnel groupings were the calling card of the day, and they did a pretty fantastic job of it. I didn't like that there was a couple of drops. I'm not a huge fan of that. Harrison Wallace III dropped a wide open touchdown on a long pass, and Caleb Odom dropped a long pass as well. Or Trinidad could have had over 400 yards passing in this game. Ole Miss is going to be a problem for the other teams in the Southeastern Conference. Ole Miss is going to be a problem. This was the performance that I envisioned 3 months ago whenever we were speculating on what we could see. Because Tulane, make no mistake, that's a good team. They've already beaten Duke, who Ole Miss played in the Gator Bowl. You're familiar with that. They've already beaten Northwestern, who's kind of a garbage team. And they have a win against South Alabama. Their first loss was against Ole Miss, and they got beat convincingly. The defense played their best game of the season. Yes, did they give up too many rushing yards? Yeah. 170-something rushing yards. We'll go over the box score in just a little bit. But they completely shut things down in the secondary and took away Tulane's passing game completely. 3 out of 4 games, the secondary has completely shut down the passing game for whoever they're playing. The only one that kind of went off was Tulane Green in Arkansas. For whatever reason, Ole Miss dropped 3 interceptions in that game. My boy, Cedric Beavers, that I feel like I've been talking about for 3 years, got into the game in the second half and had an interception, solid tackle, had a pass breakup as well. He flashed 3 times in the plays he got. I think he is going to get more playing time based off of that. You saw excellent ball skills by Cedric Beavers. He is that typical Mississippi junior college player that just seems to burst on the scenes. I think Cedric Beavers is going to get in the rotation in the secondary. Wydett Williams was very good. Sage Ryan was very good. Nick Cole, Kapina Gushikin, all of those guys were very good, and you did not hear Antonio Kite's name. It's starting to kind of sound a little bit like Trey Amos did, to where you just don't hear his name because they don't go to that side of the field. They tested him one time that I saw. They couldn't do it, and they kind of went on and did their other stuff as well. Ole Miss will be a problem this year. And going into the LSU game, LSU better show something tonight, or Ole Miss should be favored in that game, especially if Trinidad starts, especially if all of that is the way to go. And that is what I think about that. I'm as you can tell by my voice, I am unbelievably excited right now, because what I speculated 3 months ago, you actually started to see it. It's not there. It's not where it needs to be. There were still no sacks in the game. The explosives were down a little bit. They had the interception at the end. I'm still a little bit worried about that. But the defense played pretty well. Gave up 200-something yards over the course of the game. So when we come back, we will go over the box score a little bit, and then we'll spend the last 15 minutes or so of the show with your comments. So stick around for that. Today's show is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. There move crowds, move cultures, and keep the game moving forward. Early in the game against Tulane, it was a third down. A scramble by Trinidad Chambliss ended up in like a 40-yard run that ended up in a touchdown that started the complete devastation of the Tulane Green Waves. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. And the weather's cooling down. The days are getting shorter, and that has me wanting to make my home feel even cozier. And when it comes to cozifying your space this fall, Wayfair is the place to go. Wayfair has everything you need to set the mood this season, whether it's comfy recliners, warm bedding, autumn decor, or even an espresso machine so you can make your favorite latte at home. I recently picked up a recliner from Wayfair for my surgery recovery, and OMG, it's becoming indispensable. And it's completely transformed my living space as well. Cozify your space with Wayfair's curated collection of easy, affordable fall updates. From comfy recliners to cozy bedding and autumn decor, you'll find it all for less at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. And do us a favor, like and subscribe and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whatever audio podcast you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but keeps all of this free. If you want more, join the Insiders program that's down in the subtext link below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way ever to cancel. Give it a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is there for you. So let's do a little box score cleaning. Ole Miss with a 45-10 winner over the Tulane Green Wave. Ole Miss had 23 first downs to Tulane's 18. A lot of that was on the ground. They did an excellent job of making Tulane drive the field like we talked about during the course of the week, and Tulane was basically run dependent. They had to run the ball and get first downs that way because they couldn't do it otherwise. Ole Miss ran for 241 yards, Tulane 178. Ole Miss had 307 yards passing. Tulane had 104 for 548 yards for Ole Miss and 282 yards for the Tulane Green Wave. Tulane turnovers happened on back-to-back plays. There was a fumble by Ole Miss and an interception to Cedric Beavers right now over the course of the game as well. When you look at the box score, Trinidad Chambliss, 17 of 27, 307 yards, 11.4 average, 2 touchdowns on the day. He ran for 112 yards on 14 carries. He had Kewan Lacey getting 68 yards with 2 touchdowns, and Logan Diggs had a touchdown as well. Deuce Alexander, who is quietly turning into one of the better wide receivers at Ole Miss. He's an underclassman with years of eligibility left. He has made identical catches in back-to-back weeks and had a touchdown in this game, had 4 catches for 94 yards. Daquan Wright had 3 for 71. Deshaun Stribling had 3 for 62. Caden Lee had 2 for 60. You see what's happening here? Do you catch this? Statistically, what's going on? Ole Miss is much more varied in their attack, and they're basically unstoppable whenever they get that way. And it doesn't matter who the quarterback is or what's going on. If you're varying your attack, this offense has the skill players to be very good. Winston Watkins had a catch for 13. Harrison Wallace, 1 for 4. Kewan Lacey, 1 for 3. Leading tackle man was Jaden Yates, the 100-yard landlord transfer from Marshall, had a tackle for loss. Second was William Eccles, had 8 tackles on the day. 2 solos, including a tackle for loss. Xavier Harris had 1.5 tackles for loss in the game. Prince Will Amonmielen also had a tackle for loss. Cedric Beavers, 1 tackle, 1 pass defended, 1 interception in the game. So that's pretty interesting indeed. And I do want to say Lucas Carnero, Ole Miss might have the best kicker in the entire country. 3 for 3 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points, a long of 54 yards. His only miss this season was north of 50 yards on the day, and Oscar Bird's only punt was 1 for 54. Ole Miss is money right now when it comes to special teams, and it shows. Everything gets a lot easier because of how good they are on special teams. And props to Lane Kiffin. We talked all off season about Ole Miss, if they could just play winning football, if they could just end every possession with a kick, if possible, they would be an unbelievably tough out. And that is what you have seen for 3 straight games, to where He has called an unbelievably consistent game, and Ole Miss has benefited from it. I'm extremely excited about that and exactly where it could go. All right, when we come back, we'll take your comments. Don't forget to put where you're commenting from on the comments so I can shout you out as well. We get to celebrate all of this together coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make a neighborhood feel like home, whether it's a local sports bar, packed on game days, a coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or a Quinny Deli that has been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When a neighborhood business thrives, the whole neighborhood thrives. One of my personal favorites when I lived in Oxford was Phillips Grocery. They just have this real neat feel about them, kind of like going into a cabin a little bit. And their burgers, chef's kiss, absolutely fantastic. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be glad you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. And Ole Miss just defeated the Tulane Green Wave 45-10. It's time to look back on that game and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more money every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, just like last week, delivered in a huge way. Over 300 yards passing, over 100 yards rushing, a couple of touchdowns, and he played a clean game. That's very, very important. When the pressure was on, Trinidad came through. He's on a streak, folks. No hesitation or delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance isn't a fluke. I mean, he was D2. He was a D2. He was on the Harlan Hill Trophy, though, which is the D2 Heisman as well. And just like Trinidad Chambliss delivered for the Ole Miss Rebels, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You can save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. All right, so let's get into the chat room and take your comments. I am very excited about what's going on. We might go a little bit longer than 30 minutes tonight because tonight was a fun night, honestly, but not too much longer. First question is by Javon Campbell. It says, Ole Miss should have spent more money on the defense instead of the wide receiver position. I disagree. I think the defense is going to be fine. It's not going to be what Ole Miss had a year ago, but the defense is going to be absolutely fine. You saw that against Tulane today when all they could do was one thing, and Ole Miss just let them do that. They made everything hard for Tulane, and Jake Retzlaff got pulled from the game because of ineffectiveness. That's a win by the defense, no matter how you want to look at it. Matthew Mitchell says Trinidad for Heisman. Now, right now, I'm pretty woolly about it as well. Cash the Real Saint says this was the perfect game ahead of LSU. This is the best all-around game this season. Yeah, this was awesome. This was the Ole Miss team that honestly I expected to see a couple of months ago when I was speculating on it. So we'll see exactly how it looks for Ole Miss moving forward. So Sean Neeson says, I've never had so much confidence in a college backup quarterback. Hotty toddy, right? And highly sus, which I don't know if this take is, it says he's not the backup anymore. Lane Kiffin, like you said, he said after the game that he is not ready to name a starter. So it's not something to where if Austin Simmons is healthy, he's going to automatically just walk back into the starting lineup. I think that at the end of the day, I think Trinidad's going to get the first snap against the LSU Tigers. Cash the Real Saint self to say Trinidad is the starter for LSU and beyond. I'm still willing to only go to LSU. I think Lane wants to play the will he, won't he game as well. But if Trinidad can keep stacking these performances on top of each other, first of all, Ole Miss is going to be a really hard team to beat and probably going to make the playoffs. Second of all, Lane Kiffin gets to playing two quarterbacks, means he can play games with the media and make it hard for whoever Ole Miss is playing, because the real season starts now. LSU this weekend. Then you get Washington State. You should win that one. Then you have Georgia and Oklahoma. 3 out of the next 4 really good teams. Isaac Kessler, give Trinidad the starting job. Kid could ball. He looks comfortable and is a great athlete from Fort Sill, Oklahoma. It's going to be interesting to see. It's like I said all week, and I'm in it. If Trinidad did what he did against Arkansas again, he deserves to start against LSU. If he does it against LSU, he deserves to start against Washington State. If he does it again against Washington State, he deserves to start against Georgia. The point of this season is to have the best team and to stack wins together. And everybody that has watched the game thinks the offense looks better with Trinidad Chambliss right now than it did with Austin Simmons. And part of that has to do with turnovers and young and inexperienced and all of that stuff. I get every bit of it. But at its root, you need to be careful about this. But as long as the guy performs and is accomplishing the goal of those winning games, he probably needs to start the other one as well. The Copeland says, Steven, you said yourself on SEC Roundup that if Trinidad played this way 2 weeks in a row, he should be the forever starter. I didn't say forever. I said he should start against LSU, and he should absolutely start against LSU. I want to see as the challenges get tougher and tougher if Trinidad adjusts. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Is there a level that's just a bit too far for Trinidad, or is he just that dude? So that's what I'm paying attention to with that. And he also said, I'm in Okinawa watching this all unfold at 8:32 a.m. The game started at 4:30 this morning. Hotty toddy. I remember those days whenever I was in Italy, and this was the 2003 Eli season. If the game was at 7 o'clock, it like kicked off at like 1 in the morning. If it was a night game. Luckily, Ole Miss played at 2:30 quite a bit that year, so I got to like start watching the games at 11:30 or something like that. Joe Gum says, please start Chambliss for LSU and let Simmons come back versus Washington State. Like I said, I think it'll be better when they both are playing, but this little bit of competition, it kind of gets real after this game. Question from Will, any Loomers heading to the LSU game? Let Will know if you are headed to the LSU game. It'd be cool if all the Loomers got together at LSU. My wife and I will be traveling there. Brad Logan tweeted that Austin Simmons had been available today. Yeah, he was the emergency quarterback today. If Trinidad Chambliss would have gotten hurt, Austin Simmons would have played. But if Trinidad Chambliss had a helmet come off or something like that, they did not want to play Austin Simmons. But yes, he was available. Let's see. And they're sending game day, by the way, to Happy Valley for the Penn State-Oregon game, which I think that's a dumb decision. Whenever you have 2 top 10 LSU and Ole Miss game, they're going to drink all of the alcohol out of about 600 square miles, essentially. It's going to be absolutely dumb. So game day is not coming to Oxford. It is not. They decided to go with Oregon and Penn State. Asher Sachs, hotty toddy, the game exceeded all expectation. It feels like we finally clicked on both offense and defense in a meaningful game. I genuinely wonder who will be the underdog next week. I think the line last week before this happened was LSU by 1.5. I expect Ole Miss to be favored, honestly, in this game once the line comes out tomorrow. We'll see how it looks. Go Pokes won. The O-line looked good. O-line looked real good. And part of that has to do with Trinidad. He's such a good runner that he scares people from time to time. Jeffrey Langley from Aiken, South Carolina. It was good to see AJ Maddox getting some snap time. It was good. AJ getting into the game, that was a good thing. Centurion running down Retzlaff is unreal from a DB. That's a DN. That was a fantastic play. Retzlaff, Ole Miss might have broke Retzlaff if we're going to be honest about it. I don't know if he can confidently come back from that. But it was pretty good. Reverend Hugh says, not Ole Miss related, but Hugh Freeze is the most overrated coach in the country. Take away 2 Alabama wins, and he's accomplished essentially nothing as a head coach. He set us back years as well. That's from Reverend Hugh, by the way. He's not wrong. Auburn going down to Texas A&M, there's a chance that they lose their second SEC game, and it gets pretty weird. Nick Dale commenting from Boston, who are you starting next week? I feel like Simmons is going to be under a microscope. I think it should be Trinidad Chambliss, personally. I think Chambliss is in a place to where he should do it, if we're going to be real about it. Zachary Turbo love Trinidad. Feels like we're just scratching the surface as well. Donald Harris, the O-line played great today, and I was impressed with the defense as well from Covington, Tennessee. Commenting from Boston, Nick Dell says, I'm not sure if we win that Arkansas game without Trinidad. Huge believer in Austin, but I feel like there's a newly added pressure and everything he does will be under a microscope. You're probably not wrong there. Mason Palazzolo, Chambliss is him. I think he will do great against LSU's defense next Saturday. I agree with that as well. I think Ole Miss should be favored in that game. Listen, let's be real about something, okay? And LSU's a good team. They've spent millions of dollars on the NIL on the transfer portal market. But their win that kind of set all of this rolling was against Clemson, and every second that win looks worse. Their second best wins probably against Florida, who lost at home to South Florida. And they're probably going to lose tonight to Miami. The point is, who is LSU beating? I could argue that Tulane has just as much of a schedule and just as many scalps on the wall as LSU. Now, they don't have the names of Clemson and Florida, but I'm talking about just good teams. That's interesting to think of. TTK Trace from Senatobia, Mississippi. I feel like the overall performance of the game, and I feel like we have a legit chance to win every game we play. I think so. They're going to be a problem. They're going to lose 1 or 2 games. Probably even best case. I predicted them to go 10-2. But they are good enough to be a problem. And Florida is not what we expected. South Carolina is not what we expected. The Citadel's on the schedule as well. It is kind of LSU, Oregon, and Georgia, or Oklahoma and Georgia. Those are the 3 games that determine the season. And then you have the road game in Starkville. If Ole Miss is 9-2 going down to Starkville, that'll be a mess. So we'll see how it goes. TTK Trace absolutely dominated a good Tulane team. Honestly, it should have been 45-3. Yeah. Nick Cole's roughing the passer penalty it kind of upset me a little bit. Steven says the run game defense must improve. Potentially, but if they get off the field and it doesn't cause many points, I don't know. What they need to improve are the explosive plays. That's what is gone from Ole Miss. It's the explosive plays. So that's what they need to fix. Tanner Dodson, I love Austin Simmons and Trinidad Kiffin. We have a rough decision once Simmons is fully healthy again. You're not joking there. DB says, hotty toddy from Horn Lake, Mississippi, let Trinidad ride. I think Logan Diggs should run more as well. Think they'll have game day in Oxford. It's going to Happy Valley. Penn State got it for whatever reason. I think there was a backlash from them going to Miami this week to not go to an SEC stadium again, for whatever it is. Drew, the only argument for starting Simmons is you don't want him to transfer. I could see that. I don't think he would transfer, honestly, but we'll see. Keeter Jones says from Oxford, Mississippi, the way LSU is looking, punting on the first drive got me feeling better about next week's game. LSU hasn't beaten Ole Miss in Oxford since the John Rice Plumlee game in 2019. And this will be the third different quarterback that suited up for Ole Miss in that time frame. Didn't beat Mike Corral, didn't beat Jackson Dart in Oxford. So we'll see exactly how it goes. Zachary Turbo, I'm fired up. I'm sending this from Trinidad. Right. I like it. I'd like to see Chambliss start and stay until Ole Miss has to punt, then put Simmons in as a change of pace. Potentially. We'll see how it goes. LSU did score a touchdown. It's 7-0 now. Miami's already up 7-0 on Florida as well. A little bit longer we're going to go, but not too much longer. D is still not up to par. LSU will be rough. D gave up 280 yards. You give up 280 yards to a pretty good offensive team, it's pretty good. And when their superstar has to sit down because of ineffectiveness, you pretty much did your job. The pass defense has been really good. For as much as we harped on the safeties and the cornerbacks, they're pretty good, honestly. Luke Shaw, amazing, huge win over possibly the best group of 5 team. We've got an amazing team. Randy Wilbanks says the whole team played good and played together tonight. Now we can see how Kiffin can take Chambliss. Now, I don't see how Kiffin can take Chambliss out of the QB1 spot right now. Mike Biggs says it's a good thing that LSU's offense is crap this year. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see what else we have going on. William Bronson says, I just got home from the stadium next week. We need Trinidad. The game is, if the game is at LSU, they would give it a night game. We should have gotten a night game. Yeah, probably. Ronnie Pruitt's watching from Waynesboro, Mississippi. Great game. Lacey's doing a fine job running the ball, but I think we should involve Logan Diggs a little bit more in the running game. I do too. Diggs, every time he comes in, he kind of has a good day. It's interesting. Let's see. 1969 Texas Cowboy from Fort Worth, Texas. Love how Chambliss has taken the ball regarding interceptions. I agree with that. Troy Davis says, I've not been impressed with a quarterback since I haven't been this impressed with a quarterback since Eli. He's doing better than Eli did starting out. I could not be happy with how the season is going right now. He's watching from Columbus, Mississippi. I saw somebody say it's like if Matt Corral and John Rice Plumlee had a kid, right? That's pretty funny. I'm not going to be able to get to all the questions as well. I do apologize for that. But remember, tomorrow it will be the reaction roundtable with me and the Locked On SEC host getting on there talking about that. That'll be at 11 o'clock Central Time tomorrow, 12 o'clock Eastern Time. The game next week is at 2:30, and then there's a bye week after that. This week, remember, the Lane Kiffin documentary comes out Wednesday night. It's the EC60 documentary, and we'll have an interview with Ryan McGee that'll air either Monday or Tuesday as well. Don't forget the live stream Tuesday night to get ready for what will be an unbelievably amazing game. Arise Music says, hi from Los Angeles. Chambliss looks like the Ole Miss Pavia. Scrappy good. Congrats on the Rebels for a good game. What do we got going on? Let's see. What the LSU defense is good at is creating explosive plays by blitzing the weak side linebacker through the B gap, which we did once at the end of the game. I was so glad to see it. Almost got a sack. Also, we saw Andrew Jones in this game. heard his name in the broadcast, so he did get to play a little bit. So we'll see exactly how it goes. I am really excited. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for making Ole Miss your Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast and see how much we come up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is absolutely free. Your support means the world to us. It's another big moment for Locked On. College football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate football kickoff weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local expert. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the next overreaction from Locked On Ole Miss. Should be really interesting, and, I'm excited about it. So we'll see exactly how it looks. Anyway, take care.